What's going on YouTube? RDAP Dan here. Hope you guys are having a fantastic weekend. It is Sunday, September 23rd, 2016. Today marks the 1-year anniversary of my release from federal prison. So I thought, what better than to talk to you guys a little bit about how I'm feeling and what the journey has really been like for me. And I know a lot of you are getting ready to go through the same thing. What's up YouTube? RDAP Dan here. October 23rd, 2016. It is a Sunday. Today marks the 1-year anniversary that I was released from federal prison. I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit because I know most of you are getting ready to go into federal prison and you can't wait for that magical day of getting released and how good you think it's going to feel. There's a lot of anxiety that comes with that day too, because the reality kind of sinks in that you're going back to society. Most of you will be going to a federal halfway house, and there's a lot of questions and concerns and build up and a lot of emotions that come with that, especially for those of you that aren't getting out to, a kick-started life. Some of you have to rebuild, restart. You got to start saving money all over again. Maybe your relationships have diminished or they're completely gone, so you're just starting from scratch. I can tell you that getting released from federal prison was obviously a great feeling, but at the same time, there was a ton of anxiety too, as what's the halfway house going to be like? What's going out on job searches going to be like? What types of jobs am I going to be able to have? And it's pretty limited in a lot of ways to how fast you can really integrate back into society. So patience is going to play a huge role in this, guys, because everybody wants to get right back into it, right back to where they were before federal prison. And if you don't take a couple steps and take a breather, that right there can be a trigger to get you right back into the problems that kind of led you into federal prison to begin with. You got to realize that the process of getting out of federal prison isn't going to be everything that you want it to be when you want it to be. And if you're willing to take time and plan ahead, realize that the halfway house is going to have a lot of say-so on what you're going to be able to do on your day-to-day, or what you're going to be able to do for work, how often you're going to be able to see your family initially. You got to have these realistic expectations of not everything's going to happen overnight. Process is not an immediate event. It takes time. You have to allow the process to unroll, and if you do this properly, within a year or however long of halfway house you have, and then you've got your probation, you can slowly mold all of this back into a very, very successful life for yourself. And I don't mean necessarily success by money. I mean success by being back with your family, being back with your loved ones, going back to work, not having to look over your shoulder and wonder if today is going to be the day that I get in trouble for the choices that I'm making. Everybody wants a lot of things. Everybody wants to make a lot of money, but not everybody is willing to put in the actual necessary hard work that it takes. Life is not a movie. There's not always a giant happy ending. Sometimes we put in tons and tons of effort and it doesn't always work out. And, a lot of success is built on failure. How many times are you willing to fail to get to where you want to go? And if you're not willing to fail and you're not willing to suffer those consequences, then maybe you really don't want it as bad as you think you do. Your first step and your first process into this journey right now is you're getting ready to enter into federal prison. You're going through the whole judicial system right now. You're dealing with federal attorneys, federal prosecutors. You're thinking about the federal judge. You're wondering what federal prison is going to be like. You don't have a choice right now as far as where you're going. You do have a choice as to how you get there and where your mind frame is and what you're thinking about and what you're going to do next. You have that choice. You can still decide how you think and you feel and what your actions are and what you do and what you say next. You can't decide where you're going to go and how much prison time you're going to do. You can prepare as much as possible, and that's what a lot of you have been doing. That's why a lot of you come to these videos. I know there's a lot of other people out there doing the same thing and doing federal prison consulting that don't like what I do. They don't like my method. They don't like my approach. They try to swipe it under the rug as, you know, there's Dan, the rough guy that doesn't really understand the white-collar prison system. And it's not true. Prison is prison. White-collar criminals, non-white-collar criminals, going into prison, we all need the basic needs. We all need to know what it's going to be like, what can I do to minimize my time, what can I do to maximize my time while I'm in prison, as far as what am I going to be doing with my day-to-day, what am I doing to prepare, am I bettering myself in prison, or am I just going through the motions and getting back out the same person I was before I went in. So if you really feel that I'm not the guy to talk to about this, then you're really buying into some other sales pitch. Let's call it what it is. You're buying into some other sales pitch that you're watching or talking to. I feel I'm as real as it gets, and I've even listened to what other people have said about me so much to where it started to affect me and go, man, am I really helping people? But you know what? I get text messages, I get emails every day from people that are getting ready to go to federal prison. Some of them that have never called me, that I've never spoken to, that are just reaching out, telling me that they're looking at so much time, they don't know how they're going to get out and deal with their family, they're losing their families, talking about committing suicide, and why should they go on? Why should they continue? What do they have to look forward to? So regardless of what anybody out there thinks about me, I feel that I have a responsibility now, because I have built a small following of people that come to my YouTube channel for sometimes advice, sometimes just to feel better about their situation, to get a better grasp on where they're going. So I feel that it's important that the information that I put out there is not just for me to try to get new clients. Everybody wants new clients that's in this industry. Obviously, this is what I'm doing full time. I don't do anything else. I do prison consulting and prison coaching. So yeah, the business aspect of it is always going to exist. But at the same time, the responsibility for those people out there that are really feel like they're at their wit's end, feel like they can't go any farther. This video is for you guys. You can go farther, and by you even allowing your mind to go to, should I commit suicide and should I kill myself? Guys, think about that. Think about what you're doing when you think about those thoughts. One, maybe you're reaching out for some help, and that's good that you're telling people that you're feeling that way. But two, you did this to yourself. Nobody else did this to you. You've put your friends, your family, your loved ones through enough already. Now you want to go and talk about doing these crazy type of things? You're just going to continue to hurt those same people that much more. This is where you have the ability to detour your destination that you've been on right now. You can detour this, and you can show people that you are different than the person that you are seeing yourself as. If you want to be the type of guy that comes out of this, or the type of female that comes out of this that can hold your head high, take all of these lumps on the chin, don't let it affect you, and come out with your head up. It's not as hard as it sounds. You make it hard when you think about the journey ahead, and you put it so far out there, and you put all that weight on your shoulders. You need to just, remember we talked about it? This cup is not that heavy if I sip on it and put it back down. But if I continue to hold this and I don't ever put it down and I let this build up, it's going to get really heavy, guys. You have to vent what it is that's on your mind, what's on your shoulders. Life is not easy. It's not meant to be easy. And if it being not easy is enough for you to give up, then nobody can help you. Only you can help yourself. It's been a year for me, and it's been a wild year. You know, obviously a lot of you know, you've watched my videos. I actually went back to county jail for a couple of weeks due to a technicality in the halfway house, which luckily for me got overturned to my favor. But these little choices that people make, that I make, can cause these giant catastrophic consequences. Seemingly unimportant decisions, guys. That's usually what got most of us into the situation we were in. Most of us were used to being able to manipulate situations to work out to our benefit. Whether it be work, whether it be careers, whether it be other people, whether it be what we wanted, we always found a way to make it happen and get what we wanted at the end of the day. Until we ran into the feds. The feds are a whole different type of animal. that we're all learning, and I'm still continuing to learn. It is a different element that you can't control just with words and thinking you're witty and thinking you have this ability to manipulate situations. It doesn't work. And that's why most of us, and that's why I was so frustrated early on, because I felt like I could not control this situation. The feds were doing what they wanted to do to me and I could not control it. And at that point, I didn't take a step back and say, well, what did I do back there that allowed the feds to enter into my life? I didn't want to play that game yet. I didn't want to admit that I was not the victim. I wanted people to feel bad for me. I wanted sympathy. I wanted somebody just to make it all better, just like you guys do. You want somebody to come in and fix it, whether it be your attorney, whether it be your prison consultant. And that's where a lot of you ended up getting screwed big times, because you put all this faith into a person that doesn't have any more power really than what you have. I mean, honestly, guys, your attorneys, what have most of your attorneys actually done for you to this point? Like, if you stop and think right now, from the time you got in trouble to where you are right now, what has your attorney done for you that changed the course of this whole entire journey? He worked out and negotiated a plea for most of you, or that's what they're preparing to do. They had this great sales pitch early on why they were worth anywhere from tens of thousands of dollars to hundreds of thousands of dollars, and maybe even more in some cases. And then some of you had no money for an attorney, so you got a federally appointed attorney. And if you look at the journey of the gentleman with the federally appointed attorney, and you look at the journey with the guy with a $300,000 attorney, and you look at the end result, there's not a whole lot of difference. It's because this whole entire industry is built with people that just want to tell you what you want to hear to get you know what out of your pocket, those 16 digits. Visa, MasterCard, Discover, American Express, MoneyWire, Cash, PayPal, whatever it is, everybody's after the same thing. Attorneys exist because there's a market and they can make money. Prison consultants exist because there's a market and we can make money. It's your job to determine who's really got your interest at heart or who's just out to tell you what you want to hear. And most of us, white-collar criminals, people that are going into federal prison that either ran businesses or you were, whether you're stocks, mortgage brokers, we came from a world where we like to sell. We're constantly selling people on something, whether it be what we should eat for dinner or for how much money they should be spending on a business project, or why you should be buying this $500,000 mortgage versus this $200,000 mortgage. We're always convincing somebody to do something. That means our guard is down because we're the ones that are used to doing the selling. Now, you've got attorneys and prison consultants and God knows who else selling you their services, and boom, we're just eating it up. Swallow, swallow, swallow. Why? Because you want to believe what they're telling you, because it sounds better than what your alternative is. Going to federal prison and looking at this time, you feel like all of these things can fix it. Now, used properly, attorneys, prison consultants, coaches, they can help with the situation. They can help minimize the casualty, but you got to be willing to realize that it's up to you and how much work are you willing to do. You can't just go hire a prison consultant and say, make it all better, write all of my letters, get me more time off of halfway house, get me into RDAP. I want. But when it comes time for action and time for you to do something about it, to work, to do what needs to be done, to start going to classes, to start looking at what am I driving? I'm going to federal prison, and maybe you have victims, money victims, and you're sitting around driving a $80,000 car, you're living in a $500,000 or $1 million or $2 million home. And you're thinking, this is my lifestyle, I am not willing to change it because I don't want to uproot my family. I don't want to make my family have to move out of the house. Look, you're in a situation because you wanted these things, and you need to admit to yourself that you wanted these things for you. You didn't do it for your family. You're not driving a $100,000 car for your family. You're doing it because you wanted it. Once you admit that to yourself, you realize that they're just things. Your family, if they're your family, they're going to love you no matter whether you're in a $2 million house or a $100,000 house. They're not going to care if they're your family. What's going to matter is when you're standing in front of the judge and he wants to know why you're living in a $500,000 house or a $2 million house and you're driving an $80,000 car and you've got victims that you owe money to and you haven't done anything in the last 2 years you've been on pretrial to use these assets that you have to start paying back these victims. These are the type of things that make that change the scenario with judges. Walking into a judge with a character reference letter, a personal narrative saying, Your Honor, I'm such a good guy, I'm doing all this charity work, I'm going to church, my wife needs me, I've got sick parents, this is really going to be hard on my kids with me going to prison. The judge does not give a fuck. He doesn't care about any of that because that's what every other person's letter sounds like. You're just a recording. You're just a parrot who's saying everything else that he's heard 10 million times probably within the last month. If you want to make an impact with judges, character reference, personal narratives, it's got to be unique and it's got to be individualistic and it's got to be you taking responsibility for your actions. Not sitting there asking for the judge to give you less time. Not sitting there begging the judge for probation when you know you're probably not going to get it. You want to look that judge in the face and say, Your Honor, I look forward to this prison sentence and doing what I can do to better myself so when I get out, I don't make these same decisions that put me in here in the first place. That's the type of attitude you want to walk into this with. And that's when the judge is going to look at you and go, this person gets it. This person's making attempts to change their thinking to what put them in prison to begin with, not just playing the victim, because that's what you're doing when you're asking the judge to go easy on you, when you're looking at maybe a plea of 5 to 7 years, when the judge just got done sentencing somebody probably to life. And then he's got you walking in there going, oh, Judge, I can't do 5 years. He doesn't have sympathy for you. It's gone. He is completely desensitized to anything you have to say, especially when it's what he's heard a million times. You want to hit the judge with something he hasn't heard before? Tell him something he hasn't heard before. Put yourself in those shoes. Use some empathy, guys. Putting yourself in someone else's shoes goes a long way because it allows you to look at things through their eyes, being objective. Most of us don't have the ability to do that. We do, but we forget. We don't tap down and use it. They're like superpowers that we don't use. We're a bunch of people running around with all these skills. We've got the ability to sell ice to Eskimos. All day long, we were out there making our money, doing our hustle, and now when we need to use these skills the most, we sit on the ground and we run in circles, beating our head against the wall, looking for somebody else to do it. It doesn't work that way. I am in the one place that I want to be right now. There is nowhere else I would rather be. I make less than I've ever made. I have less than I've ever had. But in the same token, I have way more. I have things that I've never had before. I have peace of mind. I have relaxation on the weekends. I'm not running around hustling everywhere. I'm not looking to get over on people. That life is dead. That life gets me nowhere, and it gets you nowhere. Since I've been out of the halfway house, guys, I've been out of the halfway house since June. I've been off of home confinement since September. So I'm on probation now. But since I've been out of the halfway house, which I got there a year ago, I met so many people I was in the halfway house that are already back in prison. Guys that I sat there and had heart-to-heart conversations with that knew they couldn't get back into the game, that knew they couldn't go back into drugs or criminal type lifestyles. They knew they couldn't do it. They knew that this was their last chance. This was it. I still have to go to U.S. probation 3 times a month for my UA, my piss test, okay? There's the non-white collar Dan there, the piss test. I know that's the vulgar, right? And I run into people that are like, oh, you hear what happened to so-and-so? I'm like, no, what happened to him? Man, he got pulled over. He had guns in the car. I'm like, what? Really? He just went through all of this? He just spent all this time in prison? And he's making these same decisions. Why? What is it that leads us back to this mentality? Is it because we want things so bad and we don't want to wait? We want immediate gratification. We want money. We want power. We want respect. But we don't want to earn it. We want to buy it. We want to buy respect. We want to buy power. You want to live in a nice house, but you don't want to work for it. You want to drive in a $100,000 car, but you don't want to work for it. It's a one-way ticket back to federal prison. And then you want to say, the system's got a hold of me. They're doing this, they're doing that. They didn't have a reason to pull me over. And now you're looking for loopholes to why they didn't have a reason to pull you over and look in your car. Regardless what the reason was for looking in your car, you had fucking guns in the car. Of course you're going to go back to prison. And if they didn't catch you that day, they're going to catch you a different day. You're either going to get caught by your own stupidity, or someone's going to tell on you because they got caught and they're looking for an easy way out. Guys, birds of a feather flock together. It doesn't have to be like that. You do not have to walk in that type of environment. You don't have to live that way anymore. You can change your person, place, and things. You don't have to continue to hang out with unsocial people. A pro-social life, if you're pro-social, that doesn't mean you're talking a lot and you're communicating with people all the time. Pro-social means you're hanging around with people that hold you accountable just like you hold them accountable. If you're hanging out with dudes or people that are still associated to any type of crime, they're messing around with drugs, they're messing around with illegal activities, and you're like, well, I'm just not going to do any of that, but he's still my friend. Well, guess what? That's where conspiracy is born, just because you know about what he's doing and you didn't say anything. You need to tell him, dude, if you're coming around here and you're living that type of lifestyle, I can't associate with you. That's so hard to do, and it really is. It really is hard to cut people out of your life because they're not in the same spot that you're in if you're willing to do that. You're on different levels in life. And not everybody is ready to hear that. If somebody came to me a couple years ago and said, Dan, the things that you're doing are not in line with the things that I'm doing, I can't be your friend anymore. I would have felt like he's betraying me, he's not a real friend. That's what I would have thought at that moment, because I don't want to hear what he's got to say. But if you can say that to somebody and they can't respect that and they can't understand it and they want to get all in their feelings about it, you need to cut that person out of your life until they're ready, because it's not worth it. And not just friends, family, mothers, fathers, children, brothers, sisters. If they're living that type of lifestyle and they're of age and they know better and they know where you are in your life and they know what you're going through and what you can't be around, if they can't respect that, cut them out. They are cancer to your life. When you get out of prison, you're going to be vulnerable. You've just completely ripped off your shell. You're all exposed. You're soft. Your skin is... You can be completely destroyed by something simple. A gust of wind coming by in the wrong direction can throw you off. Seemingly unimportant decisions. If you haven't watched my video about me going back to federal prison, after I got out, watch the story, and I'll put a link to it on this video. Watch the story about the vending machine. Here, I'll just tell you about it. Here's how easy things can happen, guys. And these are things we've all done a million times. How many times have you put money in a vending machine and it didn't give you out your food? You give it a smack or a kick or a punch, or at the very least you start cursing at it because it just ate your money. It's just frustrating. It's not about the money. It's about, I just paid for this stupid bag of chips and I want them. Well, I put money in the vending machine at the Federal Halfway House. The glass of the vending machine was already pushed in from somebody else having an issue with it. When it didn't spit out my food, the little corkscrew pushed and it got stuck, I was like, whatever. I reached over the glass and took it. Well, the people that work at the halfway house were watching the videos because they saw the glass was broken. They wanted to see who broke the glass, so they watched the videos and they saw me reach over and take a bag of chips without rewinding it far enough to see me pay for it first. 2 days later, the U.S. Marshals came and got me for stealing a Series 200 shot. RDAP DAN. I was in the Federal Halfway House doing the RDAP program. If I would have been found guilty of that Series 200 shot, I would have lost my RDAP. And if I lost my RDAP, that means the year they gave me off for RDAP, I go back to federal prison plus whatever remaining halfway house time I have left. I'd have been back in prison for another 1.5 years. All because of a bag of potato chips. Did I pay for them? Yes. Should I have stuck my hand in the vending machine? Absolutely not. I should have went to the front and said, hey, machine ate my money. Can you do anything about it? Probably not. I would have been out whatever it was, 75 cents, $1, whatever. That seemingly unimportant decision where I decided, it's no big deal. That's all it took. Now, if you're not on probation and you're not in federal halfway house and you're walking the streets like a regular, normal person, those type of things don't have the same type of consequences. Being in our situation, guys, we are under a microscope. Everything you do will be scrutinized. The minute you get complacent and you get comfortable in your environment, that's when you can get squashed. You have to stay on your toes, you have to stay alert, and you have to be vigilant. You can't allow these things to affect you the way they have in the past. And you can't use these as excuses to say, well, these rules are meant to get me in trouble. No, these rules are meant to put you on your fucking toes so that when you are completely released, you have the wherewithal to think about consequences before you act. That's what this whole process is about. If they made it easy and it was so comfortable and you go out and just start life back up, what's to stop you from going through the same exact routine? Federal prison is not necessarily the hard part. It's being let out on your own and making these good decisions. Most of you that are watching these videos probably haven't been in a lot of trouble before. You're probably not going to go reviolate and get in trouble and do these type of crimes that you did to get yourself into the situation. But everyday little things that you don't think of, those are the type of things that you really got to stay mindful of and pay attention to your surroundings, because those are what can get you in trouble until you're completely finished with probation. So it's been a year for me, guys, and like I said, I'm doing exactly what I want to do, but it wasn't easy and it didn't come at no cost. I have put in my time. I continually make these videos. I talk to you guys. I spend countless hours on the phone with clients, whether they need help with character reference letters, personal narratives, trying to get additional halfway house, trying to understand how to go through the maze of prison. It doesn't matter what you need. It matters on what you're willing to do to get it. Nobody can do it for you. I can help guide you. I can be a guide from now until you're through with the federal halfway house, guys. There's nothing that you're going to encounter that I can't help you with, but I can't do it for you. You've got to be willing to work for it and realize that it's going to be bumps. Not everything's going to work out exactly as planned. That's why we come up with multiple plans of action. Multiple ways to try to diminish how much time you're going to do. So if one doesn't work, we have an option over here. And you're not going to know what's available to you if you don't ever pick up the phone and call, or you don't email me, or you sit there and watch the videos over and over and over, but you never do any type of call to action. This video is a little bit longer than I would like it to be, but there's not going to be any titles or any flashy music on this video. This video is my 1-year anniversary, and this video is made for those of you that think they can't make it through this. You're stronger than you think, so get your head out of your ass. Start focusing on what you need to do. Don't wait till you get to prison. Start today. I'm RDAP Dan, Einstein, Oliver. Hope you guys enjoy your weekend. Watch some football, but when football's over, get to work.